Hello there. This video is a re-recording of all the contents of the virtual office hour that was held on the 3rd of April on a Friday. There were about 25 participants in that virtual office hour, and some of them were a bit uncomfortable with sharing the recording with people after the event was over. So what I did was I just re-recorded everything that we went over in that session, and I put it into this video so that everybody could basically have the benefit of looking at it after the fact. So let's get started. The session was on connecting to students through Zoom. What was gone over was how you can integrate Zoom with Canvas at Lasell, Zoom meeting controls, how you can use them, some recommended settings, how you can share recordings with students, different ways you can do that, breakout rooms, how you can use those to encourage collaboration, and how you can help students record and host their own student presentations using Zoom. Please also know that this video is going to be hosted on YouTube. So if you're currently listening to it on YouTube, you can actually jump to these separate sections depending upon what you want to learn about. Go down to the description of this video in YouTube, the description for the overall video, and there will be links to jump you to the specific sections of the video depending upon what you want to review. So you don't have to watch me in sequence. You can jump to whatever's most relevant to you right now. So what I'm going to do now is go through all of those and show you how you can do that in Canvas or in Starfish or wherever it is that you're doing these things. So first, integrating Zoom with Canvas. If you're scheduling meetings for your students, I'd say add Zoom to course navigation in a Canvas course. You can also add it through Starfish, or you can share it directly through email. Although do be careful if you're doing that. And feel free to pause me now and just read this slide. I'm just going to move on into Canvas now. All right, so here I am in Canvas. First, in this Canvas course, this dummy course, I've already got Zoom integrated. That's how it will look if you integrate it in your Canvas course. There will be a link in course navigation. First, let me show you how you can do that. To do that, you have to scroll down to the bottom of course navigation to the settings menu, or excuse me, the settings link. If you click on that, it will take you to your course settings. First thing you'll see is the course details, but if you click on the navigation tab, you have the ability to reorder your course navigation links. So Zoom is in there right now, and I've already enabled it. Let me disable it and hit save. So that's what it will look like for you. You need to turn the Zoom link on if you want to use it in your course. So scroll down to where it is here, disabled, along with all the other hidden links. Click on the settings icon for it, and then click on enable. And that will bring it up. And then you can move it wherever you think is most important by clicking and dragging. And you can do the same thing with all the other links too as well. Make sure to hit save. And once you do, it will move Zoom in the course navigation. Now, the first time you click on Zoom, you'll likely be prompted to set Zoom up for Lasell. That'll just be clicking on it and signing in, so it shouldn't take too long. Once you do that, you'll see this interface from within Canvas. So let me show you how you can schedule a meeting from within Canvas. This is probably the best way to do it for the students in your class. Click on Schedule a New Meeting. Give the topic a name. Let's call it Zoom Meeting Room. In the description, I'll write something like complete all readings and assign lecture materials before coming to our scheduled Zoom meetings. Bring questions and discussions points to the meeting. So essentially just making sure that people know that they're supposed to have read everything, done everything before they come to the meeting, because I'm not going to use it for lecture, I'm going to use it to discussion of what they should have already done. And of course you can change that depending upon how you're going to be running your classes. So now let's choose a time. Let's say my class is at 12:30 on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so I'll choose Tuesday. There we go. For duration, you will be restricted to 40 minutes by default. That's with the basic Zoom account. If you need more time, reach out to helpdesk@lasell.edu and explain what you need it for. Essentially, the basic account is provided for everybody, and they want to make certain that the licenses aren't given to individuals who are going to be using it once or twice. But if you're going to be using it regularly over the entire semester and for other events too as well, write to Help Desk, explain the need, explain that you're going to be using it that regularly, and they'll assign you a license account if they have one still available. And a license account will not be restricted to 40 minutes. You can hold the meetings for as long as you like. Please do keep in mind that long meetings are the kind of things that will lose student attention after a while, so 40 minutes might work for you. Usually the model that works best there would be to basically tell them to read everything before they come to class, tell them to watch everything before they come to class, and assign them to bring questions to the actual class and use the Zoom meeting room for discussion and collaboration. That can work very well. If you need more time, you can also do a 40-minute session and then go on a break for 20 minutes and then do another 40-minute session. It's a bit awkward, but that also can work too as well. So those are your options when it comes to duration. If you got a license, you can choose the duration. I'll just leave it at an hour right now. And keep in mind, you can make this recurring too. So if I wanted to make this a recurring weekly meeting that happens on Tuesday and Thursday until the end of May, for example, you can see here it's saying, okay, you've got 12 occurrences happening every Tuesday and Thursday at 12:30 p.m. Now I'm not going to do a deep dive into these settings yet. I will in a little bit, but for right now I'm just going to scroll down and hit save and show you what that looks like. And I won't make this a recurring meeting for right now. This is just a test meeting. So I will simply make this one individual meeting and show you how that looks in Canvas. So I'll hit save, and there you go. I also have the ability to copy the invite and send it to someone directly. I'll talk about ways that you can do so carefully in a little bit. For right now, I'm just going to go to Home. So this is my dummy course. I'm going to click on Zoom, and you can see that that meeting I just scheduled, Zoom Meeting Room Test, 12:30, Tuesday, April 7th, is here now. And I can click on Start to start it or Delete to delete it. Keep in mind, you can start this meeting room at any time. If you start it, it will still work come 12:30. This is mostly for scheduling so that it's on your schedule. And for students, this is what they see. They click on Zoom and they can join the meeting. Now, they can't join the meeting until you've started it, or they can be put into your waiting room waiting for you to start it. So do keep that in mind. But this is probably the easiest way for them to join your Zoom meeting room because it's just going to be in the Zoom link. They'll see exactly what time it's supposed to start, the topic of the day, and they can click on Join to join in. Another neat little trick, it will appear in their to-do list too, as well. So if I go over here to to-do, I've got a whole lot of dummy ones in a way, so let me get rid of those. The one for April 7th, my goodness, do I have a lot of dummy ones. There it is, Zoom Meeting Room Test. It's essentially, it put it onto the calendar. So for instance, I'm still in the student view. If I click on calendar, I can see that that Tuesday Zoom meeting room is right here. And they can click here to join that meeting. And it will be the same thing. They click on join, they'll be taken to the Zoom meeting room. So you can see that's probably the strongest way to ensure students know when the class Zoom meeting rooms are going to happen and get reminded of it through their to-do list and through their calendar as well. Keep in mind, though, you can also use Starfish as well to allow individuals to schedule Zoom meetings with you. Useful for your advisees or useful for just setting up your office hours. So let me show you how you can do that in Starfish. So here I am in Starfish. What I need to do now is to go to Appointment Preferences and add a location for them to meet me. So this is going to be online. Let's call it Zoom Meeting Room. And here I'll write something like, click on the Zoom meeting invite at the appropriate time. Or call in, because they can do that too. And of course, you could adjust that whatever you need it to be and hit save. Okay, so now there's a new location where they can meet me when I set up my office hours in Starfish. So when I set up or edit my current office hours, I will have an option to say this is happening virtually in the Zoom meeting room. And what I would do then is I'd choose whenever those office hours are, start and end time, so on and so forth, how long they're going to be. And then what I'd do is I would paste in the link that individuals will click on and provide the call-in information that they'll use to get to the meeting invite. Now do keep in mind that I wouldn't recommend doing this from Canvas because office hours are supposed to be for all your classes, not just for the one where you've set things up. So recommendation would be to go to lasell.zoom.us. That is Zoom outside of Canvas. That's the Lasell Zoom instance. Keep in mind, students can do this too. They all have basic accounts as well. So I'm going to click on sign in. All right, I'm already in. And I can create Zoom invites from here too as well. So you have a couple of options here. You could use your personal meeting room. And what students would have to do is they just click on this link or they'd paste it into a browser at the required time. Now keep in mind that this is like your phone number. So if this gets outside of Canvas or Starfish, for example, and it gets shared around, people can go into your personal meeting room at any time, maybe while you're meeting with somebody else. Now you can set up things like waiting rooms and passwords to keep them from doing that. So you do have control over that. But your meeting room, your personal meeting room, you might want to be a bit careful with. But what you can do with it is go over to copy the invitation, copy meeting invitation, and then you'd go back to Starfish and you'd paste in this into the instructions. So what that means is that the students will see this whenever they are trying to sign up. They will see this link to join the Zoom meeting at the required time. They will see things like the meeting ID. They will also see things like dial-in information. So they can call, depending upon where they are in the US at the specific time or where they are in the world at the specific time, for example, and be able to join you. I'm just going to hit submit there. Oh, yes. I have to choose a time. Let's say this is at 12:30 until 1:45. Sure, for advisees and for course individuals. Okay, so now individuals will see from that time to that time that they can sign up for a meeting with me through Zoom, and they will see the link to click on as well. Now, if you want to be a little bit more careful with it, you don't have to use your personal meeting room. You can instead just schedule a new meeting, office hours for April, or for whatever month you happen to be in. You would choose the time when those are going to be happening. Let's say my office hours are at 2 p.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Repeat every week, duration, however long you would want it to be. I'm not going to do a deep dive into the rest of these just yet. I'm just going to hit save. And there you go. This creates a new meeting invite. And for this one, individuals are given a new link. So you could basically regenerate a new link every month, so you're not always using the same one. And then you could paste that in Starfish too as well. And that's how you can sort of create invites that individuals can use to access you through Canvas or through Starfish. Keep in mind, if you've got a guest speaker for the day, just to double back to Canvas right here. So for instance, here's my meeting invite for Tuesday, April 7th. But maybe I've got a guest speaker. I can click on that link and say copy the invitation from there too. And then I could send that to the individual for the day. Now do keep in mind, if you want to be careful about sending that out, let's see, let's do it as an Outlook calendar invite and open it up. You can, of course, send this to individuals, but you might not want to send the password in the email because emails might get forwarded, they might get replied to, and individuals might get a hold of a meeting invite that you don't want them to. So you could, for instance, just take this password, copy it, and then remove it from the invite, and then remove the part of the link that includes the password, and just send that to individuals. And then you could text the password to the person separately. So you'd say, okay, here's the email for individuals to get into the meeting, and then on the day you could text the guest speaker the password to join in. That might be one more layer of security that you think is necessary, but those are some of the options you have when it comes to these sort of meeting invites. And that's it when it comes to integrating Canvas, integrating Zoom with Canvas and inviting individuals. What we're going to go over now is going to be about using the Zoom meeting controls once you're actually in the meeting itself. So let me move to that section and talk about the Zoom meeting controls. Once you're in a Zoom meeting, you can manage your mic and your webcam. You can invite participants on the fly if you need to. You can manage the current participants. You can share your screen and control who else can share their screens. You can manage the in-meeting chat. You can record the presentation, and you can manage breakout rooms too as well. Although breakout rooms need to be turned on for them to be able to be used. But let me go into Zoom and show you how you can do that. So let me go back to that Canvas course where I created that meeting just now. Keep in mind, I can start these meetings whenever I want. The scheduling is just to sort of give you a sense of when it's supposed to begin. But the rooms, they'll keep on working for probably about a month. In fact, that is the time. They work the link for about a month after you create it, unless you create it for longer than that. You click on Start, Open, and here I am in Zoom. All right, when you join, you have the ability to join using the computer audio. I clicked it there. You can always, when you're in Zoom, use the in-meeting controls to sort of manage that. So you can see the in-meeting controls in the bottom left of the Zoom app. Control sound and webcam. So if I click on the little caret, that's the little up arrow pointing upwards next to mute, I can control which microphone I'm using. I can control which speakers I'm using, and I can also test the speakers and the microphone to make sure they're working. Yes, I hear that. Echo, echo. I clicked on yes before I actually listened. Let's do that one more time. Echo, echo. You can see it speaks back to you, so you can hear to make sure it's working properly. They're good. And you'll see that little thing moving up and down to let you know that your sound is coming through. And you can manage some other features there too as well. All right, next I'm going to manage the video. So you can click on Start Video at any time to turn on your video, which I'm going to do right now. There I am. Keep in mind that you can click on the caret next to the stop video, the little arrow, to manage which webcam you're using, video settings, and you can choose a virtual background too. Virtual backgrounds are useful. I'm moving right now with my wife, so actually we got a bit messy in here. I can come to you live from some other place, or just from the grass, or from space, or from the Aurora Borealis, or from the beach, or from a terrible monster, or from the cliffs of Moher, and so on and so forth. People can be pretty creative about these. And a lot of people have been, to be honest. Some people have taken pictures of Lasell and added them. You can choose a virtual background just by hitting plus and hitting add image. And you could add an image from wherever it is you want to be your virtual background and just have that be whatever's behind you. Now, it's not perfect. You can see it's having trouble along the edges of my fingers and my hair. So essentially, you might have trouble with this based on the settings of your PC. Some people have difficulty with entire parts of their body disappearing, depending on if they make sharp movements or just by default, like their head floats around. It can depend upon the contrast between the image behind you and the color of your shirt, and it can depend on a lot of other things too. Recommendation would be if you can't quite get it to work and you want it to work because you want to use this as a sort of bonding thing with your class to sort of create social presence by creating some kind of sense of place where you are, by all means, reach out to help desk and ask if they can help out with the settings so that you can make sure that you're able to sort of make that work. Sorry, it's sort of bleeding through the background there. So those are the features that you have for managing video and audio. Other things that you can do too as well. You can invite people on the fly. So say, for instance, by sending them the invite through whatever it is you want to use. Looks like I don't have Outlook synced with this yet, but it would just basically allow me to put in my password and everything and do that. I am not going to do that right now, but essentially what would happen is it would allow me to send the invite directly to an already existing meeting. So if someone texts me and says, hey, can I join in the meeting, you are allowed to do that by sending them the invite. Manage participants, there's just me right now, but I will join it with my phone so you can see what it's like when there's more than one person. All right, now join meeting. Okay, I'm being prompted to put in the password for this meeting. Let me check and make sure that what that is. Password for this meeting is 9440 and OK. I've just joined in, so I should be there in just a moment. But as you can see, I can't come in yet because I have set up a waiting room. I clicked on the setting that basically makes a waiting room be the default. This is recommended, and I can show you how to do that in just a little bit. But essentially what will happen is, if you turn on your waiting room, you can control who gets into the meeting. They'll just keep on stacking up over there in the corner, and it'll say one person is waiting or 3 people are waiting. And you can click on each individual one and admit them one at a time, or you can just click a button that will say admit everyone if you want to do that. If you're using your Zoom meeting room for a advisee meeting, or you're using it for office hours and you're having a sort of close conversation with just one person, and all of a sudden you've just sort of jumped up against the next person, what you can do is you can message them and say, hey, Matt Boyle, guest, I'm currently still meeting with the previous meeting member. It's gone a little bit long. It's going to be about 5 minutes. Can you wait for about 5 minutes? I'll be with you very shortly. And then to whomever you're meeting with now, say, hey, my next person is coming up, so I'll need you to leave in a few minutes. Let's just wrap things up, and we'll coordinate again at our next meeting time. And then you can allow them to leave and then have the next person come in accordingly. So the waiting room is a really useful feature to make sure that people who come in are the people who you know are supposed to come in. People can change names and sort of try and sneak in too as well, but there's other ways you can control meetings too. So let me let myself in. Hello, test student over here. Let's make that less confusing and just rename this as test student. Keep in mind you can rename individuals in the way I just did. So if someone comes into a meeting and they have a somewhat juvenile name they've chosen for themselves, you can rename that to stop them from doing that. As for the audio, I am not going to dial in on my phone because that might cause feedback weirdness. So I'm just going to be listening in on my phone. But you can see over here, you can click on More. You have the ability to chat directly with that test student. So you're able to say to them directly whatever your question is. If you have a specific question you want to direct to them alone. If you have a licensed account, you can make them the host or co-host. That means they can run the meeting in your absence if you want to do that. Rename, you can put them back in the waiting room. Just sort of shove them back there if you need to do that. Or you can kick them out entirely. Now, if I kick this student out, he's not going to be able to come back. So if you kick somebody out for being disruptive in the Zoom meeting, they are out of that meeting indefinitely, unless you toggle a button in your settings that allows removed members to come back. And you might want to do that. Sometimes you remove people by accident. So for instance, you're trying to remove one member and you accidentally remove somebody else, you do have the ability to allow some people back in. And I'll go over that when I go over the settings you can set. But that's how you can manage participants from within the meeting. You can also click on mute all to mute everybody. But you can also make it so that people can unmute themselves. Keep in mind, if people are being disruptive this way by yelling or saying things that they're not supposed to be saying, you can toggle this off and say, no, people cannot unmute themselves. Only I can do that. So if you need everybody to be quiet and then not allow them to unmute themselves, you can do that. Although generally speaking, you should probably allow them to speak up so that they can ask questions at key moments. It can depend on the composition of the class. And you can click on unmute all too as well. And if you click on more, you can change it to mute participants on entry, allow them to unmute themselves, and essentially give them the ability to rename themselves, play chimes when they come in, choosing waiting rooms, for example, or you can lock the meeting. And if you lock the meeting, it locks it. Anybody who comes after a certain period of time, they can't get in. So for instance, if you have a class and you want to lock it up after 15 minutes, saying, you know, I'm all for people coming in late, but I can't be admitting people from a waiting room after I've already started presenting on something. You can say, okay, let me lock the meeting. Anybody who comes in after this, no more new attendees are going to be able to come in. So those are the features and the participants, manage participants. You can also share your screen if you're logged in as yourself. Essentially, that allows you to share whatever it is you're doing at that specific time. So you have the ability to share a browser or a PowerPoint or essentially whatever you have open right at that time. You can even share a whiteboard too as well. So people will all be able to see the same whiteboard as you scribble on it. Most likely you'd probably scribble something more appropriate than me right now. But you have the ability to share that. You can also just share your screen too as well. And after you've started sharing, you have some features up above where it says stop sharing. You can stop your video, mute. You can see my little head went over here in the corner as a widget. You can manage participants from here still. You can control sharing the screen. You can pause the share if you need to. You can annotate the screen by, say, for instance, drawing a box around something you want to call attention to, or grabbing a spotlight so your mouse will highlight up for people, or just clear all the drawings that are on there right now, or save the screen that you have. You click on Stop Share. You also, the little caret next to Share Screen, you can make it so that only one participant can share at a time, or you can let multiple people share at the same time. Advanced sharing options will allow you to control that too. You can also choose who can share. If you choose only host, only you're going to be able to share. If you choose all participants, then your students can share too, but keep in mind they can't do it while you're doing it too as well. So this is your way to stop people from inappropriately sharing things. This is the Zoom bombing thing you've likely heard about. People go into meeting rooms and they share inappropriate things. And people say, well, I don't know how to stop it. You can stop it. You could basically say only one person at a time. I'm sharing by default. And then when it comes time for a student to present, for example, you can say, okay, now everybody can share, but only one at a time. It basically stops people from pulling the screen away from people and sharing whatever they want to. Notice that this one too is how you can make it so that other people can sort of interrupt. So who can start sharing when someone else is sharing? Only host. You can interrupt sharing if you need to, or you can set it so that everybody can, but I'm not going to do that. So that's how you can manage sharing screen. Chat is over here in the corner. You can message just one individual or everyone. Hello, everyone. Please put questions in the chat. So the questions feature over here in the chat, that is best used as a back channel. You just say in the beginning, okay, everybody, welcome to class for today. I am going to use the chat as a back channel. If you have questions, please put them in there. Actually, to be honest, I'd recommend having that be the initial assignment. Just say to people, okay, everyone, it is class for the day. To get started, please post your questions in the chat, or you can assign something like a quick write for 5 minutes. Here's a prompt. Everybody, I want you to write about this topic. Please explain this to me, and when you're done, please post your response in the chat. You might get a lot of responses that way, so that might be a bit too much. But generally speaking, the chat is a good place for you to keep copies of everything and manage them however you have the bandwidth. If you can't respond to them all at once, you can save them for later on to look at after the fact if you need to. So that's the chat. You can also click on the settings icon for the chat and save it. And you can control who can chat with whom. So you can say, hey, that person can chat with no one, only the host can chat, and everyone publicly can. Everyone can chat publicly and privately with peers, or you can say, everyone can chat publicly but not with peers if you don't want people to be speaking with each other privately behind your back, passing notes in class, for example. I'll just leave it as that right now, though. So those are the meeting controls so far. Record. Record on this computer will basically mean it will save to your computer. If I record to the cloud, it will save online, and people can access it that way. So I'll save to the cloud and also show you what it looks like if you record to a computer a little bit later. I'll just say record to the cloud. It's currently recording. You'll see a little button in the upper left saying that it's doing that. And I can pause and stop it at any time. Breakout rooms are over here. That does need to be turned on in your settings, so I'm not going to go over that quite yet. I'm going to double back to that after I talk about the settings for a little bit. So what I'm going to do now is go into the settings that I'd recommend individuals use to manage their meetings to make sure that they can set the waiting rooms in place and all of the rest so that individuals can be controlled in the way that I was just showing you. And then I'll show you where you can turn on breakout rooms, and I'll come back here and show you how those work. So, recommended settings. If you're trying to manage your meetings and prevent pranking or Zoom bombing, use the waiting room feature that I was just showing earlier to make sure that you can control who comes in. Restrict sharing to just the host, that is, just to you, and know how to manage your participants, how to remove disruptive people, how you can lock the meeting after a certain point, and controlling who can message whom. So we've gone over all of those things. I'm going to go into the settings in Zoom now to sort of show you some suggestions about how you can manage things from your account. One option is to turn off a specific feature about embedding the password in the meeting link itself. And I'll show you that and a number of others too as well. So let's go over to Zoom. Here I am in my profile. If you log in at lasell.zoom.us, you can scroll down to your settings, and you can control the settings that you have for your meetings. So these are the default ones. These are the ones that are going to thread into Canvas, into every invite that you create. I'm going to point out a couple of them that I think are important. So here it says use personal meeting ID when scheduling a meeting. I would recommend keeping this off. Like I was saying earlier on, you want to be careful about what you use your personal meeting ID for and not use it for all meetings. It can simplify things, yes, because there's no confusion about what meeting invites to click on. But at the same time, it can also make it easier for people to get a hold of your meeting invite and jump into meetings that they aren't invited to. Notice as well, this is toggled to on. Keep it that way. Only authenticated users can join meetings. That means people need a Zoom account to do this. Now, by default, it's set to anyone with a Zoom account. So that is guests can come in too, people who are not lasell.zoom.us users. You can change that to just your students if you want to make it so that only students who have lasell.edu Zoom accounts can join. And keep in mind, you might want to keep that a little bit more general so that guest speakers can come in too as well. And keep in mind, they will be prompted to log in before they join in a Zoom meeting too. Here it says require a password when scheduling new meetings. Yes, keep that on, as well as for instant meetings, which is something else that you can create instantly if you're using the desktop client, which I'm not going to go into in this webinar, but keeping it on as a password for getting into those is a good idea. And if you're going to use your personal meeting ID to keep things simple, consider turning on the requirement for a password with it. Here's one you should consider too as well. Embed password in the meeting link for one-click join. Now that is on by default. Consider turning it off. And I'll show you what I mean by it being on. If you schedule a meeting, here, I'll go into scheduling a meeting in my profile. Meetings, schedule a new meeting. And let's just say test meeting. And I will schedule this test meeting. Notice how that has a very long join URL. You can see it in the invite too as well. Notice how after those initial letters it says PWD and it equals a whole lot of encrypted gobbledygook. That means that anybody who clicks this link, they do not have to enter in the password. Now this is for simplification. It's so that you can set a password for it, but you can make it easier for some people to get in if you want to. Notice how the password is included in the meeting invite. Essentially, by toggling that on, you make it so that people don't need to type in a password. They can simply click the link. You might consider turning it off to keep individuals from being able to do that. So if I go back to my settings, I can go back to that particular one, where it is right here, embed password in meetings. You might consider turning that off. What that will do is it will give people a short join link that they could use to join, and they will have to type in the password, which is included as well. The use case there would be if you want someone to join, you can send them the meeting invite, and then you could separately text them or send them the password in some other way. That way, even if that meeting invite gets forwarded around, people aren't going to be able to join in unless they have the password. And you would know who you'd want to text to get that password. So it'd be a little bit easier to control who has access to it. But that's up to you. If you've got a waiting room in place, it might make it easier for people to join by having that on. You can require a password for participants who join by phone. They'll have to type it in. That might be something you might want to consider turning on. Some other things too as well. I'm just going to skim the remainder of these and point out the breakout rooms. I don't need to go deep dive into any of these. I just want to show you where they are and point out the most important ones. They allow you to control who can chat, what degree they're allowed to chat with, whether or not there are hosts or co-hosts. If you have a license account, you can use the polling feature as well. You can use features to put people on hold, for example. You can control screen sharing as well. You can control whether people can annotate while screen sharing. And you can allow remove participants to rejoin if you want to do that too as well. In the advanced section, I'm not going to do a deep dive into any one of these. I'm just going to point out breakout rooms is at the very top of in-meeting advanced. If you want to turn on breakout rooms, you have to toggle this on. And notice that you can assign participants to breakout rooms while scheduling. So you can pre-do the population of your breakout rooms. So I'm just going to scroll through the remainder of these and you can look at them all. And then you can go to lasell.zoom.us and choose what you think is the most appropriate for your own particular purposes. And if you have questions, please reach out to us and we'll get in touch with you as soon as we can. And keep in mind, the simple version of this is always there when you create your meetings. So you'll keep in mind that this meeting that I created, every meeting I schedule, I said I wasn't going to do a deep dive into it till later. Notice how all of these things are included, the most general ones, when you create each individual meeting. Passwords, enable join before host, mute people upon entry, decide whether to use your personal meeting ID, waiting room, record automatically. Now keep in mind, we've included a, boy, it got dark here really quick. There we go. That's a little bit better. Keep in mind that the YouTube video that you're listening to this on right now has a link to a Zoom blog post where they do a very deep dive into security options that you could use. So recommended ones that the actual platform itself recommends that you consider using to make sure that your rooms are as secure as possible. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move on to the next section of this PowerPoint. Recommended settings, move from there. Sharing the recordings with students. So this is a little different depending upon what kind of recording you have. If you've got a basic license, you can share the videos through Canvas or you can do it through YouTube. Canvas is more secure, a little bit less accessible. YouTube is much more accessible, but a little bit less secure depending upon the settings that you choose. Notice that if you have a license account, you can share cloud recordings through a link in the Canvas course navigation. So let me show you what I mean by that. I have kept the Zoom meeting open through all of this. So my meeting room has been on for a little while I was talking about everything else. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn the recording off. I'm going to stop the cloud recording and say yes. And what happens then is when I end the meeting, the cloud recording becomes available in Canvas. So I'm going to end this Zoom meeting. And there we go. I've gotten out of that. Now I'm going to show you where it appears in Canvas. So I'm back in Canvas. I just finished that meeting that I was recording. If I go to Zoom, I'll be able to see my cloud recordings here and choose whether I want to publish them or not. They'll be unpublished by default, but students can see the recording. So what will happen is students will be in student view. They'll click on Zoom and they'll see cloud recordings of previous meetings. And they can listen to the recording or just to the audio too as well. So it's a relatively straightforward way to access them. Keep in mind that is only with a licensed Zoom account. You can't do cloud recordings if you have a different kind of account. That is to say, a basic account. That said, you can share the recordings in other ways, and I'll show you how you can do that now. So I'll start up that meeting room again. Notice that I can start this meeting room at any time. Join with computer audio, start video. So I'm going to record again. And instead of recording to the cloud, as I was just showing you now, I'm going to record on this computer. And it started recording, and I'll make this recording very short because I don't really need to make it particularly long. It's recording now. That's long enough. I'm going to hit stop recording. You'll notice there will be a little icon that says this recording will be converted to MP4 when the meeting ends. I'm going to click on end meeting. Yep, it's already available because it was very short. All right, convert meeting recording. It should be done. So I'm going to click on the little file folder option. And I'm going to go down to Documents and Zoom. And here are all the recordings that have been saved to this computer. And this is the one that I just recorded now because you can see the timestamp is literally just now. And here's the recording. And it started recording, and I'll make this recording very short because I don't really need to make it particularly long. It's recording. There we go. Recording is ready. Now, how do I share that with students in my class? So if you have a cloud recording, it will appear through the Zoom link. However, there's a couple of options for how you can share it in Canvas. So I'm going to go into learning about Canvas. What you could do is you could go into one of your modules and you could create a section in a module which includes the recording. So I've already done this as a demonstration for a different one, but I'll show you how to do it from scratch. So this is the module. What I'm going to do now is add a little text header that says recording from a synchronous meeting or something like that. That's a little text header to organize my module. I'll click on plus and add a new page and call it recording from whatever date it was recorded on. There we go. Publish those both. Now obviously this is just an empty page right here. What I can do though is click on edit and write something like this was the recording from whatever date it was on. The outcomes for this session were, and then I could identify whatever the outcomes or topics were for the session, just to sort of curate the video and give it a little context. Let's turn these into bullets. Not all of them. There we go. Now I need to embed the video. To do that, what I do is I can click on the option, record or embed video. It's that icon in the rich content editor. So I'm going to click record, upload media. Notice how I can record directly from Canvas. It's just your webcam, but you can do that. Yep, I'll allow that. I'm going to click upload media, select the video file that I've just done, and go to the same place. This PC, documents, zoom, and then select the one that says zoom_0. And that's the MP4. It's uploading. It might take a little longer. This one's very, very short. There we go. And hit save. And it started recording. And I'll make this recording very short because I don't really need to. So there you go. The video is recorded within Canvas. Now this is pretty secure. That said, it's not very accessible because there are no captions on it. That is more than just an issue for individuals who are deaf or hard of hearing. Those individuals will not be able to access the content at all. But it's also an issue for people who have problems with data access. If they don't have very fast internet wherever they are, they're not going to be able to access the recording either. So a more accessible option would be to do it through YouTube, which is actually the preferred option, the recommended one, although you do, of course, have options. If you're in YouTube, you do need a Google account, which is a bit of a limit here. You might not want to have one. You can create that, though, with any email that you like. So let me just show you what it looks like if you were signed out. You just go to YouTube. And in order to create an account, go over to Sign In. And you could say use an account you already have, or you could just say use another account and create an account to create a new one if you like. I'm just going to sign in with an existing one. There you go, I'm signed in. What I will do now is I will click on this icon. It says create a video or more. That icon allows you to upload videos straight to YouTube. So let's do that now. Upload video. It'll take me to this little interface here where I will select the file from my computer. So this PC, documents, zoom_0. And there we go. It's uploading it now. I'll give it a title. So synchronous meeting from whatever date it was on. I could add as much detail into here as I'd like. This is my brief description of the outcomes and topics from the day. Likely you'll prefer to spell things correctly. You can choose whatever you want to be the thumbnail. the video, something to show before they click on it. And from there, you just click next. It will, before you go further, ask, is this made for kids? I'm just going to say no, it's not made for kids. It'll move on to video elements. Video elements, you can put cards at the beginning and end if you like. I'm not going to do that right now, but if you like to explore, you can. Visibility, this is an open question you have to consider. If it's public, everyone can see your video, and they can also search for the keywords and find it through a Google search, for example. You might not want to do that. I'd recommend unlisted. Unlisted means that anyone can see your video as long as they have the link. So I'm going to embed this into Canvas, so it's not as likely that people will get the link. I could also share the link with the students too as well. Those students would be able to see it easily. That said, they could share the link with other people, and therefore that video gets out there. You might not want that to happen with the video itself. So as you can see, it's a little bit less secure, but it is much more accessible for reasons I'm going to get into in just a bit. Notice that you can do private too as well. Private is another option, but the students will need their own YouTube account. So they'll need to sign up for one of those, and you can only share it with up to 50 people, and no more than that. So that way is probably a recipe for some of the students not having permission to access and not being able to figure out how to access. Unlisted is the recommended. Keep in mind, if it's an unlisted video, that video will be available to anybody who has the link. That does restrict it if you put it only within Canvas, but it's possible people could get a hold of the link and share it elsewhere too as well. But of course, it's your YouTube account. You can always take it down if you want to after a certain period of time. So I'll hit save, and my meeting will be on YouTube. Video published, click the link. And it started recording. And of course, I'll make this recording very short. Now I have a short 10-second recording of me on YouTube. So there you are. What I'll do now is I will grab hold of the link, hit copy. And one of the reasons why YouTube is a strong option here is because in about 5 minutes, there will be a little CC that will appear here that allows for captions. People who are deaf or hard of hearing can read the captions. People who have very slow data can read the captions through a transcript that will become available when they click on the settings. They could also use the transcript to jump to sections of the video, which is a very strong thing too, because they could sort of search for specific keywords. And if it's a very long video, like an hour, they could search for specific keywords and jump to the part of the video where you talk about that. So it makes your video a lot more accessible and a lot more searchable too as well. So that's the strength of that. What I'll just do now is show you how you can put it into Canvas by going back to my Canvas course. Here it is. Let me delete the video that I just uploaded through Canvas and do this through YouTube instead. Basically, you just paste the link in. There's a few other ways you can do it too, but if you paste the link in and hit enter or spacebar, it will turn it into a video that people can watch from within Canvas. And it started recording, and I'll make this. So those are your options for sharing videos with your students. Keep in mind that your students can do that too. So if your students want to go into Zoom, because remember they have their own account, get together in a meeting with 3 or 4 other individuals of like-minded interests, or maybe with their project group, they could record the Zoom meeting in the way I just showed, save it to one of their computers, and then upload that to YouTube, or just upload it directly into Canvas too as well. And that could be a really useful way for you to get a project presentation of 10 or 20 minutes done. Then they sort of upload that to a discussion forum, just paste the link in and say, here's our presentation. Then everybody can give feedback, and you could use your synchronous sessions for Q&A and discussion and critique and feedback. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to go over is breakout rooms. Breakout rooms to encourage collaboration. You can use breakout rooms in Zoom to split your students into groups for collaboration. These can be timed to a certain adjustable length. They can be set to be visited by hosts. That means you can jump in and out of different breakout rooms. So you can sort of approximate the experience of walking around a classroom and talking to individual groups, and you can pre-assign them too as well. So you don't have to do this on the fly. You can do this before the session even begins. So let me go into a Zoom meeting. Let's just do the one that we've already been using and hit start to open it up. And what I'll need is some fake participants so that I can show breakout rooms. So we've got me, I'm the host. Now we need some students. Okay, there we go. Yes, this is a bit odd. I've got 3 participants now, all of whom are me on separate devices, one of which is a mobile device. Now I remember I turned on breakout rooms in my settings at lasell.zoom.us. So I'm going to click on breakout rooms. It'll create a little pop-up here. This pop-up allows you to assign participants into rooms. Now I've got 3 participants to play with here, and I can assign them into a certain number of rooms, however many I want to choose. Now I could do this automatically, or I could manually set this up. So if I did it manually, it would say create rooms, and then I would start creating a number of breakout rooms and assigning people to them. So I've got 1 breakout room now. I'm going to add a room, add another room. I didn't have enough people for 3 breakout rooms, so I'll just do 2. I can rename these if I want, so I could say topic A, and then give them the topic name if I wanted to rename these. And say topic B, topic name. And what I can do then is assign individuals into them. So here's my first one, he's going there. Let's assign into this one the other clone there. And into this one, let's put my mobile person. Let's put both of these, move to topic B, so I can move them into different rooms and assign. Okay, you're going there. So there we go. Topic A, topic B. Everybody's in their different breakout rooms. I could also do this automatically and people would just be automatically put into rooms. So if I wanted to hit recreate, I could redo this if I just wanted to automatically stick them into rooms that are chosen by Zoom. I'll just stick with what I have. Options. So this option will move everybody into their breakout rooms automatically. If you don't toggle it, they'll get a little invite telling them that they need to go to the breakout room. I'll do it automatically since it's just me managing this. You can allow participants to return to the main session at any time if you want to. Or you could just sequester them and say you are in the breakout room for the duration of however long you choose. Let's just make this be, well, 2 minutes because I'm just testing this. You can notify you when the time is up, and you can put in a countdown after closing the breakout room. So the countdown will sort of let them leave the room on their own naturally. And you can choose what that timer is set to. So I'm going to hit open all rooms and it will prompt them to go in. So, all right there. Yeah, it happened automatically. It just put them in because I said put them in automatically. Otherwise, they would have gotten a choice to go in or not. Now, this is what I see. Breakout rooms are in progress. I'm in the main room, and it's counting down the amount of time. If I want to join one of these breakout rooms, I can join the first one. It will put me into this room. Hi, test student. You're probably not having a good time here alone in your own breakout room. But, sorry, I didn't have enough fake participants to do this with. I can leave the breakout room too after talking with people. I could keep the meeting running for others or end meeting for all. I do have the ability to do that. I'm just going to return to the main session. It'll take me back to the main breakout room. Here I am again. Breakout rooms. I could also join this one with my 2 clones here. And here I'm in a breakout room with them. So essentially what happens is you do have options for moving people into these sort of group collaboration atmospheres. And they could go into each individual one of them depending upon how you want to set that up. And then you could jump in and out. Now we've got 24 seconds remaining. Let's just stick around in this room until that time ends and see what happens and if it prompts us all to go back to the main session. We'll see what it looks like on the phone too as well. Notice that they have an option to ask for help, or rather you can't notice. There you go. All breakout rooms will close in this amount of time, whatever you chose. At that point, you will be returned to the main session automatically. That said, you can do that at any time, which I will do. And you can see that I chose to return with my phone. That said, the other students haven't returned yet because they haven't actively said they're going to yet. I got 34 seconds. That one was returned. And this one will return too as well. Yeah, they're all back. So this is sort of approximating the kind of experience you would have in the classroom with group work. People are given about a minute to sort of finish things up and then join with the main session. So it isn't going to abruptly yank them out of the room, but rather give them time. And you can manage that too as well. These are really useful for getting individuals to work together with each other. One of the things people notice about these kinds of sessions is that people can feel very isolated. You'll see a list of participants on the right, but they might have their mics off, they might have their webcams off, and they're just listening to you. If you want to get them to have some accountability, put them into rooms, give them a task, say you have to deliver on this in the main session after however much time. Then when they come back, say, okay, groups, what did you talk about? Whoever the leader of your breakout group is, present on what it is you discussed. Okay. I think the only other thing I haven't gone over yet is speaker view versus gallery view. Notice that you have the option to sort of spotlight the speaker or to have a gallery like the Brady Bunch of individuals. So keep in mind how you would like to do that when you're managing your sessions. Okay, so that's breakout rooms. We've also talked about how students can record and host presentations through YouTube or through Canvas. Just know that they have basic accounts at the same place that you do, and they can share their resources with you there too as well. So that is it. That is what we went over in the session on Friday. Actually, a little bit more than we went over with more demonstrations there. So better this recording than the other one, I believe. Keep in mind this video is currently being hosted on YouTube. You do not have to, if you want to watch it again, listen to the whole thing. The links to the separate sections are included in the YouTube description itself. So you could click on, say, for instance, where it points out where I discuss the different sections and jump to that section if you'd like to do that. So if you have any questions, please reach out to us. We're available at tlc@lasell.edu or at 617-243-2001. We're happy to meet up with you whenever we can, and we'll get in touch with you as soon as we can. All right, everybody. Thanks. I'll see you all online.